Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another broadcast of PlungeCast. Whangarei, part of the old Plunge Enterprises New Zealand Limited that we've got going on here and based in Whangarei. And today I have with me later on, we'll be popping on soon, Vince Cocurullo. He's a mayoral candidate for Whangarei. He's running late, as you would expect from someone who's in the middle of his election period. This month, trying to get everything sorted. I understand that because last month was hectic for me trying to arrange 3 different events all around, making sure that 2 of them next year, all the dates were secured and all the planning wasn't sorted out. And then also this year we've got in December, we've got one event coming up on the 17th and 18th in Auckland at the Mayoral event center called Dewdrop now. That's DUE, and formerly known as Vodafone. You can check that out. Event center. You can check that out on animefestival.co.nz. At Plunge Enterprises. We're a part of that at co-managing. So check that out. Now I've just noticed that Vince has popped in, and we're about to jump in there, and we're gonna have to do a quick sound check and tech check. There you go. Now you see it. Just bring it down a bit there, sir, and we'll bit more so you don't get too much headspace.
Too much headspace? Okay. How's that for you?
Perfect. There we go. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
All good. How you going, Aru?
I'm good, thank you. As I said, it's a very busy period for yourself. With on the election trail, as I say, trying to organize yourself, organize everybody with meetings and stuff. And, you're getting a message from me. I don't know what date it was, but I just thought, one of the reasons before we go into giving you a bit of a bio, the reason I asked you to come on board was because I looked at the list that the Herald put out that one of my friends shared. And I went like, if I'm looking at this list, I'm going, who do I want to be doing this job? Right.
Yep.
And I'm going to go, the top 3 would be the candidates who are standing up on that list. Anybody anywhere below that, I'd be like, yeah, nah, I'm not voting for that, or not even thinking about that. And I'm the same, like my guys go, well, you're the head of enterprises. So you're the one who's running around, right? Doing all the stuff. You have the time, you get it organized, and people see me as a person who's running around doing all the stuff. But behind myself, there's so many people also doing that work who people don't get to see. And I'm sure you have that team behind yourself as well going into this. And I'm sure You've got your own, your own base of candidates that you'll be bringing into your mayoral election if you win, right? So yeah, I'm going to let you talk about your bio right now and who you are, where you're from, and we'll get into that from there.
No worries, Adam. Hey, I'm Vince Cocurullo. A lot of people know me who I am because of what I do amongst the community. You've seen me out and about. I'm helping amongst the community. I'm helping at different events. Ado, I think the last event that you saw me at was actually the Fashion Awards, which I was really proud to actually be one of the sponsors there. I used to run the event from 2008 to 2019, and I was waiting for it to transition across to the new owners. And then COVID happened, of course, and it threw everything out. So it's really great to see the event back up and live again and all the creativity involved. Did you enjoy the event, Ado?
I did. And here's the thing. A few of my friends, right, were part of that. I didn't realize one of them was so jacked up with a mask on, Phil from design school, right, who I've interviewed here about design school and about his own journey getting to where he is. And, I didn't, until he took that mask off, I was like, that looks pretty cool. That's really cool. And I went, what? I knew you had something coming up for the event, but I didn't know it was for that, that it was being made up for that. Also, Lynette was there, and a couple of the guys, a couple of his students and his mates. I always forget his name, but one of the guys who's part of Shadow Realm was there as well. And the great thing about something like that, you see the effort people put into this.
Absolutely.
Right? And the energy that goes into, especially on the pop culture side, which we're part of at Enterprise. And so seeing that up there shows me that, hey, there's more people and excited to be part of that. So when we go to Cocurullo next year, there's another event they can be part of. When we're back here again for Whangarei, there's 2 events now. And then there's
awesome.
also all right. Yeah. So the 3 events that we're proud of that people are part of, that people can, from locals, that could be part of the cosplay competitions and showing off their creativity, which for me is, you know, is awesome to see.
Yeah.
So now, you mentioned you were part of the 2018, 2019, sorry. Before I jump onto that, can we get back to you were part of running the show? I didn't realize that earlier on.
Yeah, so back from 2008 through to 2019, I used to run the whole show. So used to go behind the backgrounds, making sure all the contestants are there. And again, with every event like this, you have a team of people helping behind, and they are amazing. From creative people through to visual effects people. This time round, having Daniel Martini on there, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, his design and his creativity of bringing everything together. But we've showcased so many different people involved in the event over the years. I'm just so glad that we've now got a cosplay section. You know, that wasn't there before. You know, we previously we had a steampunk section. You know, those sort of things. I love them because it really brings out the creativity. Not everyone can do fashion design, and not everyone can sew or things like that. But with the cosplay, with the different steampunk things like that, you actually then start getting to see how good people truly can be with their creativity. And we had one year where one of the boys high teachers actually created a whole medtech outfit. And it's all out of foam, so he had it all cut out of foam and the whole thing. Beautiful event, well done design, but absolutely amazing. And creativity. He then goes and teaches all his kids how to do this sort of stuff over the next couple of years. But of course, we had COVID in 2020, which caused a big problem for everything.
Well, that was I had forgotten all about that. The fact that we spoke on live stream at that point when I was doing my trying to keep everybody motivated, especially artists, because as an artist myself, and I've realized that that's what I got to call myself now, because people always keep saying you're an artist, and I'm always saying I'm a creative person, because it means that because as a creative person I can say I'm creative. It doesn't mean I'm stuck in a box. And so, but now it's like, okay, you're the artist. Okay, that's fine. I can handle that now. But the thing about that was that being one, I have I understand the mentality of people in my purview, like me and like myself. And that allows me to kind of speak not for them, but on behalf, kind of like go, well, I understand what emotions we feel, what struggles we have, because in the sense that we, like even last week, I was like the other night on Friday night, I was at an event for Kotai Creatives, right? Creators. Lenny's new gallery. So one of the guys said to me, like, one of the things that needs to be taught, right, at any thing that you're going to teach art at, business. You must teach business to your artists. If you don't, there will always be this whole attitude in their brains about the poor artist. Oh, it's fun to be a poor artist. No, it's not. There's no joy in it. There's no feeling of greatness. All it is, it says, look at me, I'm a poor artist. That's all it is. It's just this fakeness about it. But at home, when you get home, goes, oh man, I wish I could afford that. Oh, I wish I could, have be able to buy a beer for myself to celebrate my my completion of this painting or my carving or whatever it is. And that sort of attitude's always like irked me, like, hey, how do you as an artist go from being the poor artist with the whole quote unquote artist to where you become a someone who actually can look after yourself financially. And out of that, I've noticed that when you were there, you then can support others. And you can also be supportive of artists, not just support them, but be supportive of their work. This is something that I've learned over the last few years, but I've known this since I was at art school, way back in 1996, at North Tech, right? And seeing people just that the poor artist mentality it really, really irks me, because it just shows that, well, that means you're telling people that it's a fun thing to be at. It's a nice thing to have in your life, but it's not. It's like anything else. As a business person, you're like, it's great to be a poor businessman. No, it's not. Nobody
No,
says
it's
that.
not.
So why should you say it as an artist?
Yeah, no, look,
So
we've
tell
got
me
we've
about
got so many creative people in Whangarei, and you
yeah,
know, if you just allow them, and that's, you know, my role as a business person was trying to get that creativity out and actually support them through that process. So that's why I love it.
right.
I love seeing people show their skills. I
Yeah,
don't know if you've seen a lot of the steampunk guys out there. The work and the workmanship that they go into doing
yeah,
that stuff. There's one guy who makes top hats, you know,
yeah,
absolutely amazing top hats.
yeah. And
uh,
and
it- yeah,
if you taught that person how to market to an overseas market
yeah,
worldwide,
yeah,
right? And if he well, doesn't already, that is. So if you get someone who's interested in that sort of thing as a hobby, but within a year, the skill level goes up,
yeah,
and then the marketability, get your website going, sell overseas. And one of the things I notice is that people think so insular these days, and they need to get out of thinking insular. They all only think of New Zealand. Like, I mean, if I was only think of Whangarei, we wouldn't be doing Auckland this year,
true.
right? If that's all I was thinking.
Yep,
If I don't get approached to do Kerikeri, we wouldn't be doing Kerikeri next year.
yep,
And if and I think that sort of limits our, not only our earning, but even our scope of what we can achieve if we let
yep.
if we get out there. So tell me about the Benina thing. How did you get involved with Benina?
You know, this is a funny story. Honestly, growing up, my mother she used to be part of Bend On Factory here. Used to have a Bend On Factory in Whangarei, so making
Yeah,
women's clothing and things like that. My mother used to take me around as a young child to all these clothing shops, actually the material shops more than anything. So I would play amongst
mm,
all the material, and while she got her material and things. Later on in life, I ended up having a relationship with one of the girls, as you do, and
yeah,
convinced her to be involved in the Benina Fashion Awards. And
okay,
she did an amazing job. Absolute talented girl.
yeah,
What a talented girl. And then later on in life, I found that the Rotary Club had picked up the event, and being part of the Rotary Club, I was like, sweet, awesome.
yeah,
And I was, as soon as the opportunity came up, I was like, yep, I'll take over that, happily do that, and happily run it. Fashion
mm,
has been part of my life. I may not be able to sew as good as some of these
yeah,
guys, but I love seeing their ability.
mm,
And and you talk about poor students. I talking to Rachel, who runs the girls' high students and gets them through their ballroom gowns and things like that.
yeah,
You know, she gets them to actually understand how to work with different materials, and then
right,
teaches them how to actually make a nice outfit. So some of the girls in the
mm,
previous years have actually made their own ball gowns, completely own ball gowns. Some of them have
yeah,
gone a little bit more extreme and made
yeah,
their I won't say underwear, but it's almost close to it.
yeah,
But it's what the girls do. They are really, really talented. And Rachel's been
yeah,
working with those girls for a few years now, and she teaches them not only the creativity, but also then how to market it. So she's going
right,
that next step with them, which is awesome.
yeah,
And we've seen some of those girls go through the Benina Fashion Awards and then actually go into art school and go down to fashion
right,
design school in Auckland, and then
yeah,
go on and actually end up having careers. One of the girls I know actually used to work and do design stuff for Xena, Xena
right,
Warrior Apprentice. So she actually did the
right,
outfits for that. So that's how far you can go with your creativity if you really truly desire what you love.
yeah. And the other thing there is like, you can go to that higher, outside of Whangarei and so on. And I remember back in, like, I'm not sure if they still do it. I know that design school has put on fashion as part of their thing. I remember, I think it was Jackie I met the other week. who works there. I hope it's Jackie. But I get names mixed up. But she's one of the fashion teachers there at design school. I remember I had a friend who was at art school with me doing ceramic and sculpture and stuff. But Kevin, he actually went on to doing the fashion designs thing as part of North Tech. They had awards. They had a course back then. I'm not sure if they still do it now. There is these things that we've missed out over the years because I guess they've let go of teachers, quality teachers and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we've lost out on students who feed back into the community. So one of my things has been is try to see how do we feed back into the community. I've got a few plans underway for us, for our students who are passionate about in the area, that I'm my thing is. And so I'm looking at it for the next 3 years, like from 24 on to 27. If everything goes well, we'll be looking at bringing that on board. And of course, I don't want to share that until it's a legitimate thing there. Names reserved, companies' names reserved, and so on. And it's what we got going on. But one of the things is like when we talk about the reason I want to ask this, what sort of support would you personally, if elected, bring to the community? Because we have such a huge community, right? And there's so much has happened in the last, I don't know, about 8 years, I would say, for Whangarei, that I think it's time we stop building buildings and we started actually building people. And because it's to a point where we go, well, we can have so many structures, we can have structure upon structure upon structure, but there's nothing to fill it. And if we don't fill them with qualified, quality people who are locally taught and established, and then also teach and establish locally people. By locally, I mean Northland. This is my home. So this is what I care about. I don't care about anything outside of Auckland, Northland as much when it comes about art feeding into the community. But that's been my thing. It's been like, how do when is enough, and just turn around and go, listen, this is what I'm going to do for the community and to help the people, and try to raise funding for that rather than just funding for buildings. I mean, we're past the building stage now. The buildings are built or being built. There's no more building needed to be built. But now it's about how do we find resources for, kids who are dropping out of school, kids who are looking for something a bit more, and even adults, right? Young adults, 35, 20 to 35, that age group, what's there for them? And what do you think what would you bring?
What do I bring? Oh, well, you can see very clearly how much I'm involved with the community, and especially when it comes to events. Like when I see events come through council, and I see the agendas come through, and I get really disappointed when some people don't get the funding. Where I'm like, okay, I actually go in my own business, and I actually then try and support them as well. So Opera in the Garden, there's an organisation which didn't receive some funding from council, so I basically said, well, okay, I'll become a sponsor there. Because the talent that we have, music talent, it's amazing. We have some great singers coming from Whangarei, and I couldn't bear to see that sort of stuff go wasted. One of the things I support wholeheartedly is Sistema and getting kids to play with music instruments.
Yeah,
love it. Once again, if I see that they're not getting the funding, then hey, I'll come to the party, and with my own business, I will find sponsors. I'll do that sort of stuff, because I believe our community needs that support. A lot of businesses out there want to find a pathway, and the number one thing, they want it to affect kids.
Right.
They want to see kids excel, and whether it's sport, whether it's art, whether it's creativity, whether it's computer programming, the young guys who do the programming for the robots and things like that, they love it, absolutely love it. But having a sponsor in there behind, actually backing them and getting the kids through the courses, through the training, through the learning, to get past that next stage. that's all they need sometimes. One of the places I've been looking at and helping out, they approached me the other week, was one-to-one mentoring. They deal with a lot of troubled kids, similar to I Have a Dream. But their biggest limitation is funding. Once again, this is a group, a family which has decided that they wanted to put all of their effort into making kids actually get an education and learn how to go through life and how to deal with life issues. So it's just amazing when I'm now partnering them up with a couple of Rotarians that I know. One of them's into building trusts. So that's what he's doing for them. He's going to help them out on that side. It's about, with my role as a council, is about getting people to mesh together so we can get a good product for Northland. And like you, Northland is my home too, man. There is no, been all around the world. Northland's my home, and I love this place. So I will do anything I can to see our Northland people excel. Anything at all.
Awesome. One of the things I find is, like, there's a misunderstanding about art in the community and what is art and how people have said that to me quite often. It's like when we try to tell people why arts needs funding, the only person I could think who really understood in government in New Zealand was Helen Clark, right? About art, why art is such an important thing that is, at that high level, that is important to New Zealand. You look at our, most of our export is very much artists and in very different areas. Like you look at some of, you look at Peter Jackson in the film industry. That's a huge area that we just don't even touch in Northland. I'm hoping that my friends who are part of that sort of area, as someone who's had who's got a bachelor's degree in filmmaking, I've moved on, but I'm very passionate about that area, because someday I would like to see some of my creativity get put into film or a TV series or an animated series.
Awesome.
But it won't happen, right? It won't happen if we don't have a feeder support system in place now to bring those people together. And one of the other reasons for that is there's nobody leading. And when there's nobody leading, and the other side is that there's too many people leading, and there isn't a group of people getting together and saying, hey, let's do this, and who's going to lead us, and make sure that person does the leading and we be there to support. Which is what for us has been very very cool. Like for us, I tell my guys, I'm the mouth, right? I'm the mouth. I'm the guy at the top. I'm the mouth. I'll yell and scream. I'll get all the people involved that we need to get involved, but make sure you guys have got my back. As long as you guys got my back, I can do all the screaming to bring all the all the funding that I can find out there to support. And but there's that thing. It always seems to happen when you have people, you have this tall poppy syndrome that is very, not only prevalent in New Zealand, it seems to be very prevalent where there's I guess in the sense that there's like multinational ethnicities involved, because everybody wants a piece of the pie for themselves and their own groups and their own ethnicities. They're not willing to see it as a whole packet, and which is, how does it benefit the community as a whole, not just my part of it or your part of it, but as a whole. I found, like, talking to people overseas, they've just said the same thing. They said, we get what one of the guys, and he's a Black American. He goes, we have what we call the crabs in a bucket. Everybody's pulling each other down to get to the top, which is pretty much kind of similar in the sense that we have the tall poppy, which is like, as soon as somebody sticks their head up, they get knocked down. So I kind of hope that, we can bring, with a new generation, we can say, hey, listen, we're there for you. You stick your head up, you're willing to have the passion for it, we'll put you out there, we'll mentor you, we'll get you, like you're saying, with mentorship with the vegetarians, right? Business people. I mean, those, I'll be 50 next year, right? Cool. So I give myself another 15 to 20 years before I have to say, let go of the reins and let someone else, or maybe even 10 years, depending who I can bring in to take over my role.
Yeah.
And so I'm all about raising the next generation at this point. And so I'm sure you see yourself as well, saying, who
Yeah.
do we mentor to take over us after we're not here no more? How do you
That's
see
exactly
that
right.
in your side of things with
Oh, mate,
council and stuff like that?
it's exactly the same role. I see the exact same thing. You know, creating that mentorship. It's one of the things I want to see on council, where you actually have an older councillor mentoring a younger councillor. Now, a younger councillor would be someone who's first term on council. Now, one of the big
Yeah,
things we've got this time is 2 Māori councillors. Now, they've never been on council. They may have
right.
had work, they may have worked for council, they may have been employees of council. But being councillors is different to
Mm,
being employees.
yeah,
And I agree with you about the mentorship. You know, I it's one of the things I've always said to some of the new councillors: don't be afraid to speak your mind. It's okay to speak your
mm,
mind. You know, hey, you might not get everything right. That's okay. But speak
yeah,
your mind, because if you don't speak your mind, you're not true to yourself. And if you're
yeah,
there, if you're there to represent people, you're there to represent people. So you need to speak your mind.
mm,
I know full well that not everyone's going to agree with what I say. That's fine. That's
yeah,
that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to represent people. I'm here to stand up for people, and I want to see people excel, and I want to see people exceed. However,
mm,
I can do that behind the scenes, I have no problem with it. You know,
mm,
with such a creative community in Northland, it is just vitally important to see every person actually try their best. I don't
right.
want to see them. I don't want to see them try half-heartedly. I want to see them
Yeah.
try their best. And when I see someone actually trying their best, I'll stand behind them and I'll help them.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's been the same with me. With I've had someone stand behind my back and push
Yep.
me, to certain things, and Hindu's one of them. Since 2018, we've been being pushed and pushed and pushed, and I've just had to lean on my guys and go. They've asked this, they've asked that. Where's our, what do you think? And I get the decision is final decision is mine, but I still have to listen to everybody around me, and I always seek advice from them, because
Yep.
if you don't seek advice, when you fail, they'll be saying, well, why didn't you ask?
Yeah. Simple.
Why don't you listen to us? Why
Yep.
don't you put your hand up and say, well, ask me a question about this? And so, one of the things I really enjoyed about the fashion awards was the fact that I came late. I had no idea I was supposed to be there at about 5:30. I show up at 7. Everybody's looking at me. Who's that guy? I go and ask, where am I supposed to be seated? And Tim puts me, from Benina, puts me next to Brian. And,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, halftime's up. Hello, so-and-so, I'm so-and-so, and how's it going? And I find out that he's the right person to advise me on things that I've been wondering about for the past 2 days
Yep.
on that. And
Yep.
I think this is the joy of being in such a small community like Whangarei. We're not the big, huge cities where you get lost. You get to see who you need to see, or you can arrange time to see them. Unlike if you're living in Auckland, there's so many levels up the ladder you got to go past before you get there.
Yeah.
And here you've got such a close knit network of people. It only takes 3 steps, and you're there. Who you need
Oh
to
yeah.
be next to ask the right
Yep.
questions. And that's a joy and blessing of being part of Whangarei, and that's why I love it so much here. Um, with how long, like you said, like there's about like what 9 years you've been a councillor or such long?
Yes. So I came on in council in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I was underneath Stan Semenoff as the mayor. Then I had a 6-year break, and then I came back on in 2016. So since 2016, I've been back on council again. So it's 9 years all up, spread since 2007, and now
Yeah,
I've grown a lot, I've learned a
mm,
lot, but on saying that, most people around Whangarei know who I am, because they know that if they want something fixed, ring Vince, he'll know what to do. If I don't
right.
know how to fix it, I know someone who can fix it. And I don't
Yeah,
mind not fixing every job, but if I can give it to someone who can do it, and they are able to help them out, I'm happy.
Well, I mean, that's the joy of being in a position where you're able to network people to each other. I did that just last week. I was thinking, like, as a friend of mine I've known since childhood, he plays guitar, and I've got a friend who is looking for artists to be on his podcast.
Yep.
And he's from Northland. So add one and one, and there you go. And I'll say, I'll make you guys introduce you guys to it, and then I'll leave. That's it. It's up to you guys now.
Brilliant.
Hash it out. And I think
Brilliant.
that's a joy of being in the situation where you know people, but you can't do all the jobs yourself. And that's your ask. And even as a counselor, you can't do that either.
No.
So if you win, who's coming on your team with you? Right? I mean, you've probably got
Well,
you don't want to. I mean, if you don't want to say right now, then that's fine. But I mean,
I can't really. Yeah, I can't really, and the reason I can't is because I can't tell you who is going to get voted on. So you have a mayor,
okay,
and then you have councillors, and you've got 13 councillors, and every one of them is going to be voted on. So you don't know who at the end of the day is going to get voted on. Now there might be, there's been some rumours come around that there's going to be 8 new councillors on council. That's awesome, but again, we don't know who those councillors are going to be. So it's to make say, oh, this person's going to be on my team, or this person. Look, the biggest thing is everybody who comes onto council, they all have one vision, and that one vision is they want Whangarei to be great. Every one of them, and it doesn't matter whether you're as green as the green, or you're as blue as the blue, or red in between. It makes no difference. Everybody who comes on council wants the Whangarei district to be great. So my role as mayor is to basically utilize their skills to get the best out of them for our district. And that might be finding someone who's got a passion with art. Right. They can be part of the creative communities. Find someone who's got a passion about roads. Right. Put them on infrastructure. And you get people who actually have a passion about what they want, and you will always see them excel and exceed. Always. And my job as mayor is there to mentor, to help, to basically encourage, and to sometimes alleviate those roadblocks so that they can actually get the communication with the right people. You might get no one from the existing team on council, and you might have a completely fresh, so 13 new councillors, completely new. So a lot of them are not going to know who to talk to or who to communicate with. My role as mayor is making sure those communications happen, and they understand their role as a councillor, and then are able to, again, as I say, make Whangarei great, because every one of them wants that. They all want a great place
why
to
else
live.
would you want the job, right? I mean, it's not a cushy job. Be yelled at by people,
pay a lot
questions.
Either. It doesn't pay a lot either. So don't. It is about commitment.
Yeah, I mean, I think about my own job. It's like, I mean, there's so much paperwork. It's like I would not want anybody to do my job, even though I'd love someone to do a part of it. But it's the same thing. You get the right people for the right position to do the right thing, but they have to be passionate about it, because otherwise, why are they there in the first place if they're not concerned about what's going on in the community? One of the things, talking about the community, right? So one of the things, my pet peeve is, as you could probably see by my T-shirt, right, is trash. Yep. Now, recently there's been a spat of youth crime, and when I was a kid, right? Well, let me see, how old was I? 19, probably about 20s, early 20s. I got done for receiving stolen goods because there was a situation. There was a situation where a friend of mine had a do-hoo-ha with his flatmates, and and there was all this stuff. And then so I received, and I paid him for that. And then suddenly, without realizing, because I got to see the inside of police station cells for the night for a couple of hours. And anyway, they got sorted, went to court, and got, I think it was about 40 hours community service.
Oh yeah.
Now, which meant I gave up. No, I think it might have been like 20 weeks or something like that. 3 months or something, whatever it was, of 12 weeks of my Saturdays were given up to pay, do community work, pay back the community for my, and that was the last time that I can remember that I ever got involved with the police, in that sort of situation, because I learned that I did not want to be chopping away at gorse on a hillside in the middle of summer. I didn't want to dig up rocks and stones and wheelbarrow them around and pull them out of the, somebody's orchard so they could have a nice little, and I realized that I'm not even aware if they still do that now, whether because I'm not involved, in that area or my purview, whatever. And so I wonder if, like, with all the trash that is around Whangarei right now, because we're trying to tell the world, New Zealand pure, right? We market ourselves as pure New Zealand. All the beautiful millions of dollars spent on those beautiful ads, and then we walk down the street and there's trash. There's one of the other pet peeves is seeing all these COVID masks, cloth masks on the streets. About another every 100 meters there is one. This is this is central. This is not out on the wops. It's actually central. So I'm wondering whether we should look at, maybe if it isn't already there, that instead of sending kids off to some sort of prison youth thing, whatever they used to have, like when I was a kid, they put you to some sort of youth lockup, and you do your things there. I think having something like actual community service back, where you're actually out there with your red vest on or orange vest on, picking up trash, beautifying Whangarei, as part of your service to pay back to community, then because you realize that you can't be with your mates on a Saturday, which is what I hated not being, hanging out with my mates on a Saturday and going to the movies, going to do whatever, going to town, going for a drive for weeks on end. I couldn't do that. And so having that as part, I'm not sure if it's there. You can advise me if it's there or not now, but maybe community service is something that we should look at giving our non-adult children, right, under 18-year-olds.
Oh, look, I'm a totally believer with you on that one. And I do believe in the community service approach. It not only takes people away from what they're used to doing, but it actually puts them into a scenario where they can be part of society. So, and yes, picking up rubbish may seem like a menial thing, but, the effects of making the streets clean and tidy, the effects of making the riverways clean and tidy, it is amazing. And when, I've seen young people, you've gone through the same process. I've seen young people and the effects of them going through and actually picking up the rubbish. A couple of weeks of it, the first couple of weeks are usually, I don't really want to do this. But then they start changing. And they start seeing the effects of what they're doing. And, they actually become absolutely brilliant advocates for keeping the place beautiful. One of the big things Whangarei District Council had was DTAG. Do you remember DTAG?
Yeah.
So
you had to clean up all the tags and all that.
Right. So DTAG was paid for by council, but it was run by Te Ora Hau. Absolute brilliant organisation, 100%. And they used to take a lot of the kids who were offending or caught tagging, and they used to bring them along in the trucks, and they used to go and then remove the tagging. Unfortunately, the guys have now got sick, so we're now using contractors as part of council. But I want to see that back. I want to see that DTAG system back in place so that people then learn to respect other people's property. They learn that throwing rubbish out of a window is not helping anyone, because it's going to have to, someone's going to have to pick it up. And where council can be involved in that, and where they will have to partner with the government, because the big problem is a lot of this is controlled by government policies and government and rules. So
yeah,
as a council, our role is to make sure that the government knows what we want, they are able to
yeah,
see the outcomes of what we're trying to achieve, and we can work together to get the same thing. And there is a lot of people out there who want to be part of society, and a lot of the
yeah,
times they misbehave and cause problem is because they
mm,
don't feel as though they're part of society.
yeah,
So we need to change that mentality, and it's just a cycle. And unfortunately, it's a cycle that not everyone succeeds from. But
mm,
when young people feel as though they're part of society, mate, you see them excel. Now, you've
yeah,
excelled in the creative world. I can tell you that there is others who have excelled in the sporting world, who have excelled
mm,
in music, who have excelled in actually programming. They've
yeah,
actually seen and actually realized, actually, no, I don't want to do this all my life. I actually want
mm,
to put back. And some
mm,
of the best ideas come from us in our lowest places.
yeah,
So, yeah, as a mayor, that's one of the things I'll be basically trying to encourage and bring back so that people feel as though they're part of society. And it doesn't matter who
yeah.
you are, everyone wants to be part of society.
Yeah, I mean, like, why? What else are we going to end up doing here otherwise? Because I think the downside of that is that because if we feel not part of society, we don't want to be here. And sadly, we see a lot of that in Northland happening, and has happened for quite a long time. I mean, I've experienced it myself, and that sort of, and that's why I kind of like want to make sure that we encourage more art, more literature outside of what we do. And we've been given a huge opportunity the last 5 years to be able to do that,
Yeah,
and actually take other people with us forward, and up. But now we're looking back and going, well, we're here 5 years later. What are we going to do to continue? So, so we've got a few ideas in the head. I mean, I've got a few ideas, and I've been talking to a
cool,
few people,
cool,
and we'll be hitting you guys up in the new
cool.
interim, when it change around to show you what we're looking at. Because I mean, there is my whole thing is how do we keep people here? I think
Yeah,
losing your creative base means that there is no future creativity for us locally.
yeah,
I always think of like decades, and I think Hinu thought of it as decades as well last year when she did a 10-year thing for Creative Northland. And I was like, I can take that on board. We can do a 10-year plan. What is happening? What can I do as part of for what we do for the next 10 years? You know, and go back to 2014 and 2015 when I was thinking about what the shop could be, the comic shop could be if we kept at it. And so now I'm realizing that those ideas, I can rebrand those ideas and rework those ideas to take it forward for the next 10 years that we had
awesome.
planned. One of them was the convention, and now we've gone into event management from convention, as well as publishing and so on. But there's so many, and the other thing is that, look, I'm not going to be to have all the strength to do everything, so I need more people to come on board in time. But then also I need funding to be able to bring that on board, to prove it forward. And then that means that we need qualified people, or people who are looking to work part time to get full time. And but that's only possible if the government sees the creative sector as something viable for Whangarei. And if they don't see people like myself, people like yourself, in a high position, and councillors and other community leaders in the arts sector saying, listen, we do have a vibrant society here in the arts sector, and now we need you to take that money that you have, buy our own our regional taxpayers, and put it back into our region and not give it to some other region because you don't see us being that important because we don't have enough people to do it. But we do. We have like CTN, Creative
Yep,
Technologies in
yep,
Northland,
yep,
the
yep.
whole digital and technological sector there. We're coming up slowly as I guess in the pop culture purview and all that happens as part of that. But I want to see a lot of grassroots. What is it called? oh gosh, I had the word, like little incubator type little businesses start
Yes,
up.
yes.
And someone who's doing digital, creating digital 3D toys, right? Suddenly there's a whole person I can reach out to do our toys. We have
Yep.
someone who does digital art. We can reach out, say, hey, do that. And then someone who's like, deciding doing doll clothes, which is one of the things I'm going, well, I like to have, my characters dolls, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you got the character now for a 3D guy. Now I'm going to have like the doll design, character designs, costumes, whatever, like little, I'm not sure if you see it back here, but, little Barbie doll of Princess Leia, right?
Oh.
Having her costume designed on, right? So, of our character. But you can't have that unless there's someone out there to go, I think I could make a business out of this.
Yeah.
But, but they only can get that business started if we go, I need about 5 of that right now, but in probably another about a year, I might have 100 for you,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And if we can get those, those people to put their hands up, then we can feed into that, because there's
very much so.
there's so much smart people locally. They're just not getting direction. Is what the problem is. No direction, right? For where they can go. As that's what I mentioned early on about the whole poor artist, right? So you got someone who loves doing doll clothes, but they don't see it as a business, right? Because they only see it for the 5 people that can do it here. They don't see it for the 100 people or 1,000 people who can do it overseas for.
So true. So true. It's the little things. And when we start connecting people together, where we start getting, getting someone who wants to make this doll or someone who wants to make shoes. I had a young guy, and when he started out in business and he wanted to make miniatures. So he actually went and purchased the casting mold and actually made miniatures of the war figurines and First World War and Second World War figurines at a metal. And then he'd paint them and then he'd sell them. So, and he was growing his business so fast because he didn't realize there was a need out there. One of the big things about COVID, it is actually, it was nice for the country to shut down once, but when it shut down the second time and the third time, that's when real problems started happening. The first shutdown, everyone sort of like breathed a sigh of relief to go, okay, right, we're taking a breather. After that, that's when people started losing the communication. We started stopped communicating with people. We stopped interacting with people. We need to get that interaction back. We need to get the ideas flowing again. We need the creativity. We need people to start communicating and being part of society again and stop staying at home. I dealt with a gentleman today, an older gentleman today, and he admitted to me, he was hiding away and reclusing in his house because that's where he felt the safest. Now he's now trying to break free from that. And I went around and saw him and checked up on him and all that. But he's a valued part of society, has been all of his life. But because of COVID, he has locked himself away. And we need to get those people back out amongst the community. And a lot of them have huge talents.
And the fear, the one thing that really, really irks me is that people have gotten so fearful. I remember one of the things that I noticed this week, somebody was talking about like, oh, we don't want to have young people, right, in their 20s. We don't have children. We're so we're so worried. And I'm like, I remember talking to my girlfriend in 2000, 90s, and she was so worried about bringing children to the world then. Each generation has this fear, and I'm like, no, this is normal to have, but don't get so afraid for the future because it's just a cycle that we go through about these things. And if you allow us to get too tied up, you just become very depressed, and that's not where you want to be. And you don't, you got to have hope. And I think what I want to bring is hope, right? I want to bring hope in the art sector and make sure that we teach, we mentor, we help, we promote, we advocate,
Absolutely.
and we network for hope for young people to get to the next stage. If we keep saying, it's going to be bad for you when you get, in 5 years when you're going to be a poor artist, you shouldn't do that anymore because you should do this. It's like, well, how about we teach you how to take your art that you love so much right now and maybe put you with someone and learn how to do business with that. Take that, like you said, that young gentleman with painting miniatures. He could have hired other people if he got too busy, or part-time. Here's 10, here's 25 bucks. Do about 100 of these if you can, whatever, 10 of those, and then market it out at a higher price, to pay for the wages.
But that's all, and it was great that you managed to sit at the same table as Brian, because Brian's one of those people with a lifetime of experience and able to provide assistance for you, and that's our role, just pairing people up so that they can work together.
No, it was really good. It was like the right moment at the right time. I was getting a bit wary about what I wanted to do, and he was like this, and I went, the chip came off, the block of weight came off, and I was like, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm not afraid of that much anymore because I've got the advice I needed from someone who knows what they've done, and where they've been, and and it took me 1 or 2 questions, and I robbed all that off him and gave it to myself, all that confidence, and it was so cool to have that. Now, I know you're busy tonight, so I don't want to take much more of your time, but I always do this. So there's you have the final word. You have 3 to 5 minutes I'll put you on solo, and this will be your moment to say what you need to say in regards to the art sector, because I know everybody will ask you all the other questions, and but I just wanted to talk to you about the art side of things, because I think there are people who will ask you about politics, Three Waters, and all that stuff. But I think for us, that's all my concern is, and that's all where I see we're ourselves in Whangarei. So I'm going to put you on solo and let you take it away.
No worries. Thanks, Ardo. Look, this is an amazing opportunity. What you do within your sphere of people that you influence, all I really want to see is I want to see people out there and actually vote. There are so many of us who sit back and go, oh, look, someone else can do that. I don't worry about the tomorrow's another day. But if you actually get out there, make sure you register to vote, make sure you vote, and actually get a say in what actually happens, you will be surprised at the outcome. And not surprised over who you vote for, but it's more about surprise over what you get as an accomplishment to actually vote. So within the art sector, we have too many artists who sit back and go, oh, no, I'll do that another day. They get the paperwork, they leave it on the dining room table, and the election day passes. Oh, yeah, I forgot to do that. As soon as you get the paperwork, fill it out, get it in. Artists need to have a say. We have got so much that's going to happen in Whangarei over the next 3 years, next 6 years. There is so much that's going to happen, and we need to be involved. We need to be making sure that everyone's voice is heard. I don't care which culture you're from, but make sure your voice is heard, because if it's not heard and you don't have a say, as someone always says to me, if you don't vote, don't complain. Well, that's not the case. I want people to actually have a say, be involved, and actually get out there and do it. Whangarei, what would you like? You want more art? You want more culture? You want more parks? Make your voice heard. The candidates that are out there need to hear from you. I love hearing from you. I'm out there amongst the community anyway, but I love hearing from people. I love hearing what their concerns are, because if it's a concern that I can help out with, or I know someone who can help out with, I'm glad about it, that I can help. So I'm just going to leave it at that point. I appreciate your time that you've done. I appreciate the work that you go to put this together. It is unbelievable. You talk about a team behind you, mate. I know the creative sector, Creative Northland, and what they do for Northland on Titai Tokerau is amazing. And we need to support them from a business world like myself through to a council world. We need to support the creative sector just as much as the creative sector supports each other. So don't be afraid. Get out there and do something.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cocurullo. And we'll see you on the trail. And all the best for the elections. And for everybody else watching, thank you for tuning in onto PlungeCast. And hey, whatever you do, do it well and put your 100% behind it, and get out and vote. Yep. And we'll see you next time. Ka kite anō, and we'll catch up later, Vince, just after this. And thank you everyone for watching. And I'll make sure this is back on the upload it onto their page so that you get to hear this again if you've missed out. Thank you, and ka kite anō.